everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we have a very special live stream. I'm going to show you how to do a very simple abstract rose. It is super beginner friendly, but I'm going to do something even cooler than that. While I'm explaining this lesson step by step in acrylic paint, I'm also going to illuminate and hopefully demystify some concepts and ideas around abstract, so that you can take today's painting and turn it into future paintings from other photos and other references that you have. I think this class might really break it open for some of you. So for sure, you're going to get a gorgeous live, abstract painting of roses. That's happening. But hopefully you're going to get a set of skills that you take forward so you can go into your own garden and get your own picture and abstract that. Does that sound fun?
It does.
All right. I have here a gallery wrap heavy duty canvas. It's 10 by 10, and it's very special because it has this deep edge. Now, in abstract painting, I really like these. This isn't the only way to do it. I like these though, because you don't have to include a frame. You just wire the back, and they really lend themselves to the abstract look. And you can get these online, or you can get very, very high-end ones. You can get economical ones. But the idea is that the wood frames, which are called stretchers, are thick. So, oh, new canvas smell. Maybe I'll save my plastic for texture. Who knows? If I feel textury, I might use it. So I've got this out, and the colors I have today, I actually decided to just go with the color palette that we're going to be doing all month for Acrylic April, because I know many of you invested in the paint. And I know that I didn't need my whole 2-ounce tubes, so you have at least enough extra paint for today. So I've got burnt sienna, phthalo green, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, Mars black, Quinacridone Magenta, Cad red medium, Naples Yellow light, Cad yellow medium, Dioxazine purple, and in the middle, titanium white. So that's like pretty much all of the colors. And I'll show you real quick. I'm going to be using this realistic photograph as my reference. We have some color wheel stuff that I will go ahead and put up on the website, because if you check the link below, there's always access to traceables and extra free material and 1,000 more videos. To that end, if you'd like to see those 1,000 videos and be here for the next 1,000, or at least the 30 we're going to be doing every day in April, go ahead and hit that sub button and make sure the bell is rung so it tells you when we're doing things. To begin this, I want to kind of talk about some concepts and ideas. So, abstract. When you paint abstractly, you paint nothing objectively. In other words, you paint line, shadows, shapes, textures, structures, hues, values, all of these things. You use amazing design sense, but you don't paint anything that specifically looks like something. That's pure abstract. Today, what we're doing is abstracting, right? We're taking something that does look like something, a rose, and we are simplifying it and breaking it down to its core components to abstractly express it. So instead of rendering it realistically, we're getting loose and fanciful about it. So hopefully that kind of breaks down those two concepts. I have to really say right now, if you have an expectation, if you're a new painter and you're thinking or feeling that maybe abstract is easier than objective painting, please let me pump the brakes on that thought. And I get the thought. I understand why so many people think, well, that looks really simple and my kid could do it. And all those things that sometimes people say around abstract. But abstract's actually really challenging because you don't have an object to lean on. You have to stay really structured in your design sense, your color theory, all of your really tangential art skills have to come into play. So that's why I like with beginners abstracting objects, because it still gives you this safety anchor of something kind of looking like something, which, believe it or not, is very helpful in that thing. So if those two things kind of illuminate. Now, on something like this, we're going to talk about, we have a color wheel, right? We've all been introduced to the idea.
Yes.
And we have wonderful concepts in the color wheel that we need to think about. Now, colors that can't be mixed by other colors are called primaries, right? So you have 3 primaries. If you mix the primaries, you get secondaries, right? And when you mix a primary with a secondary, you get a tertiary. And that kind of gets you all around the color wheel for everything that you need. And we're going to work hard in these. When you hear me say hue, that's when you hear me say hue, I'm talking about the exact color. When we say tint, we're talking about lightening. When we say shade, we're talking about darkening. We're not going to worry too much about doing a split complementary or complementary or anything complicated if you decide to change the color palette from what I'm doing today, which is okay. It's totally allowed. I'm never mad. Here's my advice. If you're not really familiar with your paint and color theory and color mixing, do something called analogous colors. I do this, and this is no way meant in any way as put down, because I think kids are the most creative people on the planet. But sometimes when I'm working with kids or very new artists, I only put out analogous colors because no matter what they mix, they're never going to get mud.
That's a good point.
Right? So if you're really new and you're like, I don't really like these peachy pinks and these rosy colors with this gray, I really like blues, then what I'm going to suggest to you is that you stay right here on your colors and white and black, and you're not going to end up with a crazy thing. Don't get over into here because that's when you get mud. When you leave your color zone, your cool colors, right, over into your warm colors, you're going to start getting grayed out colors. So really unfamiliar, the trick would be just pick an analogous color and stick to it. Doesn't that seem super fun and easy?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are just some concepts in case you guys aren't familiar with it. The first step of what I'm going to do to take that wonderful rose reference that I shared with you is I'm going to create a colored ground to work from. And I want to use that gray because I think it's really wonderful, but I'm going to change it up. I'm going to use a tool called an artist knife to mix. This is a metallic artist knife, and I'm going to take out a little bit of metal. I mean, not a little bit of metal, a little bit of blue into my black, and it's going to add a blue cast to my black paint. In the painting that we're about to do, that mild blue cast, which will come up, will really help those pinks pop. That's why I bother. The whole reason I do it. Now I'm going to paint this whole thing. Wait, you know what I got to do? Wish.
What's that?
I'm going to wish that the world is in good health and everyone is super safe around the world, especially with all this stuff going on with health and wellness. I'm just going to wish everybody is super safe. All right, so we'll paint that into the ether. I'm going to take this mix of paint. I'm going to grab a little small amount of white and just start to paint this dark color in. The loosely mixed paint means that I'll have some tonal differences, and I want that. It's going to create some interest. Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm.
Painting around here.
Now,
I love doing gallery wrap canvases.
While you're taking a moment to paint that in.
Well, I'm going to be here for a moment, so I'm happy to answer some questions.
Well, I noticed that Kim over here has
Hi, Kim.
been supporting us in our little patron live chat stream, and so I just wanted to say thank you, and we appreciate your support, all the help you guys give us out here. And as soon as she gets through with doing this little bit,
I'm going to blow some bubbles before I paint the sides. I just want you to know I loosely mixed it on there, and then I brought my brush across, you saw very quickly, to kind of smooth it. That's all I did. Just threw out some paint, and then I brushed it across to smooth it. But we got to give some bubbles to Kim. So when I paint these sides, these bubbles are for you. I really appreciate it. I know this is kind of a crazy thing, but every once in a while I like to kind of get my little art teacher hat on and be like, let me get into this deep concept here.
No, it's good. And I didn't want to interrupt, but...
No, I appreciate it. I'm going to sip my coffee.
You sip your... I'm going to sip my coffee. I have coffee too. So thank you, Kim, for the coffee break.
Thank you for the coffee break.
And
I'm going to dry this front here so I can do the sides, babe.
So thank you, Kim. Thank you, all you guys who are here. And I'm going to take a moment to say, if you look right down there, right below this screen, hidden, there's this button. It says subscribe. And if you click it, the little bell next to it will appear and it'll change. And then when you click that, then you can go down and say all. And if you do that right now, everyone can just take that moment, go down there, click that button, then click all, and then subscribe. So then you're going to get notified when we go live. Or whenever we drop a new video. And while we're doing Acrylic April, that will be very important. So
and it will be all month. Don't unsubscribe. I promise we'll be back to our usual upload schedule.
So that is
come the next month. May will be back to normal. But in April, we're going to be... Listen, you guys are going to see these paintings and you're going to freak out. It's
you know what I have?
The best thing I've ever done on the channel. by miles and miles and miles and miles. I'm super proud of it.
May you survive April.
Yes. That is a good wish too. May you survive April. Got to check for the. Sometimes these things have silicone packs in the back that you got to check for that get under the stretchers.
Mm.
I think they did that to address whatever was causing the mold issues on the canvas, so they didn't have to use that crazy coating we were all complaining about.
That makes sense.
All right, I'm going to get to here as far as I can without getting my hand painted, dry this, and then flip it over. So what's great about this, again, you're going to save thousands of dollars on framing with this style of canvas.
It's true.
And the bigger they get, the prettier they are.
Now, that's not to say that a big old framed piece isn't pretty too.
It is also pretty.
We have,
and I'm not at all trying to like do any
several.
damage to framing out there. I love framing businesses. Framing is an important part of your art.
I'm just
saying I love this sort of like, it's all around the sides.
Okay, before you do that, you missed a part in the upper right-hand corner.
I did? Where?
Look to your right.
Oh, thank you.
Robo camera.
Yes.
You did everything over there? No, that's okay.
Okay. All right, well, cool this.
All right.
You got to love him.
Okay, so, and thank you guys for coming and hanging out here. It is wonderful to have a great big art family come together here on a Saturday to paint with us and do this. It's really, really wonderful. So I love seeing you guys out here with me in chat. Thank you for being here. If you want to learn more about what we do, it's in the description in the links down below. You can find out more about our Art Sherpa patronage by going to theartsherpa.com/patron. And let's see.
All the sides. But again.
Oh, one more side.
Yeah, that's just ready to hang. I know that's a bit fussy. You know, it's a bit. I'm actually painting on this type of canvas all April, just 8x8. It's also a nice thing to introduce because we'll be doing these on faster tracks than this. We won't be so real time with paint the edge of the canvas.
We have tricks.
We have tricks.
Production tricks.
Now, I did all of this with a big brush. This happens to be my number 30 Art Sherpa brush, but you could just use any big brush that you have.
Yeah, get more on the bottom on the right.
Where? Oh, yep. See, he's really good.
I know. I just have a camera.
You have a camera and you can see things, and I'm busily teaching and not. All right. So we're going to move forward, and we have to start putting in our design. All right. When we're abstracting, we do have to become more present to line and form, value, and where the canvas holds weight. And you'll hear people talk about the canvas is heavy here. This is where the canvas is weighted. I'm going to essentially break this down into a couple concepts. The first thing when we talk about weight, it's where just the visual noise is. It's where your eye is drawn. And you generally draw the eye with contrast and implied line, right? The kind of direction or elements of the canvas where they pull this. And what's wonderful about this and why I chose and cropped the photo that I did is because it pulls all of this into our upper left corner, but it creates a nice circle with all the design elements to keep my eye on the canvas. I'm going to put a lot of work into this, so putting my eye on the canvas is very important. And again, while there are many things about abstract that are so much easier than objective painting, it's not like necessarily less effort. It's just a different thing.
Right.
Right? Sippy coffee. So,
agreed. So,
how are we doing? And do we have any questions before we jump into the first layer of design and we talk about S strokes and their best strokes?
First of all, just turn around and put the bubbles on. And
I'm gonna put the bubbles on. I'm gonna put the bubbles on.
So,
I'm gonna put the bubbles on.
So, what I will say is thank you, Patty, and thank you, Stay Lean. They're both wonderful supporters supporting us out here in our little super chat thing. So thank you guys. We really appreciate that.
I do.
Thank you. It makes a big deal.
And it helps buy this paint.
It does.
It really does.
It does. And so when you're painting the edge of these are, what's this kind of canvas called?
This is a true gallery wrap canvas.
What is it? What's the difference between
okay, so initially canvases were stapled on this side of the stretcher right
sides,
there.
Yeah.
On the side, so you could see the staples and you had to frame it. So you had to frame it. And it was required. Then they started doing stretchers that were much thicker and weightier
Yeah.
in their width, and they stapled the back of the canvas, and that allowed artists to stretch big, beautiful pieces that they were doing abstracts on and to work without frames where you literally just wire the back and hang on the wall. Now almost all canvas is technically stapled on the back. They kind of gallery wrap everything. But when we're talking for this process, my recommendation, if you can do it, is to get the big, thick stretchers, because it's just going to give you the most wow moment. Okay. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Okay. Now, I'm going to keep some of the colors and everything that I've going on here. I've just exaggerated them. Like I added the blue cast to my dark gray instead of just having it be a neutral black or gray. And we're going to start doing some arabesque or S strokes. And to kind of introduce those, I think I'm going to grab a bright because it's going to explain some of that at first. And then I'll move to my cat's tongue. Does that seem reasonable?
Okay.
So let's talk a bit about line and how we use it in a piece like this. So I'm going to take my phthalo green and my burnt sienna.
Okay.
I'm going to add a smidge of my cad yellow so I can see. And we're going to create some curved or S-curve strokes, and then we're also going to put in some arabesques. So when I curve this, let's see if you can see this a little more because I want you to be able to see it. All right, we have this, and that's an S. So when you see someone go like that, it's curved, and if it's like that, it's an S. When a stroke comes like that, it's an arabesque. It will look more like calligraphy or writing. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
And these are part of our arsenal for everything that we're going to do here. So I have this object here kind of weighted out. And you can see that the lines create kind of a temper. So the first few lines were curves, right? Then we did some S curves. And then we did an arabesque, which is coming down, coming back. See? It's about using your bright or your tool like a writing instrument. Does that kind of break that down?
It does.
All right. Questions about it, it's okay to ask, because if you've never done this before, you might be like, what is happening? I'm going to add some of these down here. So we're going to talk about the arabesque again. Let's do an arabesque. My bright is loaded with green. I'm going to put it on its edge. I maybe strike over towards the left side, come back up. See?
Yeah.
That's an arabesque. There's an S stroke. Whenever I curve, when the curve is counterposed, those are S strokes. So those are very important elements of abstract painting. My next important element that I'm clearly leaning into is color and value. So we've got some dark values that we're starting to put in. And I do want to really speak to what's happening here. There we go. So I'm adding some long elements here. Our design will come up and have some elements up here, kind of giving us 3 focals on these little outer edges, and then we'll have our 2 main bits here. Now, maybe here I might come in with my green a little bit deeper. Let's get our green into our ultramarine blue. And back here, where I know I'm going to be filling in with roses. And are you guys ready to maybe see some thick painting today, too?
Yeah.
Thick. So we're just brushing that in. Is that are you guys feeling that? Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I think so. I can see it.
Okay. I felt like we needed a palette cleanse after I did all those realistic roses on the channel. So there we go. We've kind of green cast that. When you want to kind of reveal what that color is, if you come in with just a smidge of white, you'll see that this makes kind of more of a teal. Isn't that gorgeous? Who can say what kind of strokes these are?
Curvy one.
These are the curved strokes, S strokes.
I thought they all are all curvy.
Well, all calligraphy strokes, all curved strokes, all S strokes, all arabesques are curved, but the arabesques are the ones that look like actual calligraphy. And you can see the contrast of these colors is really quite powerful too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see where we're at there. Is that not awesome?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go over it again so you can get with me because I said easy, and a lot of times easy is about making sure I've explained it. We put in our blue-gray background. We worked some curve strokes, some S strokes, some arabesque strokes on these outer edges, creating the layer. We put a phthalo green and ultramarine blue up in the corner, painting it around the sides. Because on these canvases, you can paint around the sides neatly or not neatly. It's really up to you. You know. So I would like to, if I may, get into my cat's tongue because I designed it for a reason.
Yeah.
And this kind of painting is it. If you don't have this brush, just do a filbert. I'm going to pull this out. I do like a little burnt sienna into it. I'm going to get some of my yellow, cad yellow, and a loose mix of white. I'm going to add these marks. What I do is I press and pull. I want these to be a little bit thicker and more noticeable.
Okay. I'm going to adjust the camera up here a little brighter than I normally would have it so you can see those.
Because we're pulling those up. Do you guys see those get pulled in?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're pulling them up. Let's bring some of these strokes around here. I like to put some out into ether. So what I have here, what do I have? Implied line.
Yeah.
Pulls it back up into the composition.
I'm trying to adjust the camera up and down so you can see the various levels of because it's with the reflections, it can be challenging to see this. So I'm kind of fluctuating
I hear you.
The lens up and or the iris open and closed so you can see it a little better.
So like, do you see that where it went up, over, in? It's like pretend calligraphy.
Yeah.
Now this is just more of the phthalo green with a little white. It creates that cool kind of mint, and it's also a nice color to be having here. Bring some of those strokes around the side. And I'm just loosely mixing and making sure that I've got kind of a complete piece. So can you guys see where we're at with the greenery? It's not bad. Kind of wonderfully fun. Now, just for the purposes so I can kind of help you guys understand what I'm going to do in the next step, I'm going to dry this so I can chalk it so you can see where the objects are going to be and why we're going to pick the values we're going to pick in our next color mixes.
Okay, so thank you guys. I know this is a little more of a challenge to see because the darker colors, but I will fluctuate that up and down so that you can see those different layers. And after the show, once she takes a photo of this, you can find that reference image on our website, and those links are in the description down below.
Give them a nice screen of that so they can see where they're at. This is where you're trying to get. Yeah. Oh, okay. You got that.
And I was just while you were drawing, I was actually kind of moving this up and down so they can
really see where they're at.
Yeah.
Okay, that is awesome. I'm going to use my Dritz chalk tool. And if you'll remember our reference, but I'll show it to you real quick again. We've got this nice reference. So I'm painting something that is abstracted, but not purely abstract. But when we look at this, I know that I've got a round shape taking up this space here, and right about here is where its dark focal is. The dark focal of the next rose is right here, and it's going to take up this space. Underneath it is a really wonderful kind of focal shape of this downward petal. I'm going to add some downward petals differently here, just for balance. And I like those coming down here. So let's say there's one here we're peaking. We're going to have one here peaking. If you'll notice too, in the objects, there's also curves. One object points this way, one object counterpoints the opposite direction. So we're trying to keep our viewer's eye on our surface. Our next rose shape will be right here, kind of facing that way. So now we have a bit of a plan that we can work with, and we can be playful with our colors. But roses are essentially going to be very dark in the center, and they have dark, deep shadows between petals, and then bright highlights on the edges. So if we're trying to paint that, it's really fabulous to say, take maybe a little bit of my Dox purple into my magenta. That's quite dark, is it not? Let's come in the center of this rose. And I'm going to make circular strokes that are short and curve around and layer on each other. Now, as I am going to head out, I'm going to rinse out a bit. I'm going to head to the outer edge of this rose, and I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to take my Quinacridone and my Cad Red, because I really like them together. More Quin. And I'm going to layer in bigger, yet still kind of loose strokes. I need to cover my surface, and I want to cover my surface. And I will at some point pull in some palette knife here, but we got to start the work. So we've got that basis there. You guys see where we are there? It's definitely dark in the center. It's got our curved implied strokes around the rose. Right? That's really rather nice. Now when I come back, let's be playful. So we take our Cad Red and our magenta, and then I'm going to grab some of my Naples Yellow light. It gives me this great coral. You know, always gets a little white into it. And let's come here and start to pick some petals that we highlight. The paint underneath is still wet, is it not? And therefore, we'll pull in to what we have going on. Coming on, I can get more yellow and maybe some more white into it. Because as we come out of the rose, oftentimes they will become lighter. Get a nice curved petal around there. Can you see how it's just expressing the idea of a rose, not necessarily painting what we think of for a rose? You can always go back, right? Like with something like the magenta, and make sure that the spaces between your petals also have a dark aspect. Can y'all see the rose?
Yes.
Okay. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And not wholly terrible at all. I'm going to grab a little of my paint here, and I just want to make sure that these are kind of well thought out inside. That's all it is. Super fun. Now, every rose, you can kind of change up their color aspect, so you can play with them too. So they can all be the same with their dark purple, or they can be different. This one's very similar, and I liked the synergy. So I'll probably start expressing the differences in the outer petals. What have I got going? I've got a little bit of my Dox Purple. And you can come around the side if you want to. So that rose can be painted around the side. How awesome is that?
I think that's pretty awesome.
My magenta and Cad Red may be much more magenta this time. Let's bring some big petals around here. I can always layer over. That's a good beginning. Kind of looks like a rose. But now we're really familiar with what we would do to say rose more, wouldn't we? A little bit of my Cad to my quinacridone. And this time I'm going to add a little of my cadmium yellow and white. Slightly different. Taking the tip of my brush and just doing some curved strokes. Fun to come around the edge. Sometimes I press harder to define some of those petals a bit.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing. Fun, and you can do this all day. Any roses, any set of colors. This will work. You see I had my yellow, my cad yellow, and my magenta, a little of my cad red there, and a lot of white.
Wow.
There we go. So we've got that coming off the side. Fun, right?
Yeah, very fun.
Now looking here, that looks kind of empty and threadbare to me. I'm going to go ahead and grab just a loose mix of what I had on my palette there. And add some petals falling down. Nice to have value though. So I've got some implied lines, some curves, some gesture. But this is abstract, so even more than objective, I have to think about the values that are happening and how they express in the painting. Are we losing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Now, while you can.
I'm going to sip some coffee. I need
some.
I've been so on it, like, I got to do the other two, but we got a minute here. So
take a bubble break.
Yeah, I need to take a bubble break and sip some coffee.
And we
could
say
my bubble break.
We could say thank you to Blue Rose from Canada.
Oh, Blue Rose bubbles with the rose, and you can paint these in blue with harmonies.
Yeah, and Mama Moth, and she says thank you for bringing color and healing into our lives.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being in our lives.
Yeah.
I'm feeling my bubbles today. I'm like just really feeling it.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're digging your hair today too, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. So no, I just wanted to say thank you. That had come up while you were painting in the roses, and I didn't want to interrupt in the middle of your rose.
I'm excited, right?
Yeah.
I am. Now, if I take just my quinacridone, perhaps, and some of my Naples Yellow light, I get some really wonderful colors. And I'm loosely mixed, and I'm going to add some of those, like that, just little shapes. Always add more, like yellow if I'm like, oh, you need a little more personality.
That's very thick.
Yeah, paint thick, paint free. Load up some here. Again, very loose. And let's add some of these little, perhaps little peeking flowers out. See, it was just 3 little brush touches, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 little brush touches.
Oh.
Maybe this time I'm going to get some white.
They see a blue bunny on your palette.
Oh, I see it. Oh, the blue bunny. That was fun. It's just the shape of a flower we did. We were just like, is good.
Yes.
A lot of times it's, are you comfortable just saying, yeah, I'm okay here? Are you comfortable going, oh, that's really neat where that lipped with the yellow? Because that's what you've got to do sometimes. You know, I'm going to come here. That's pretty nice. But maybe as I come back, I'll get darker color. Kind of involved. And when I look at that, I got to think, is there enough light on there? Do I have enough kind of contrast? So I just grabbed into my yellow and my white. And on the tip of some of these, I will go ahead and add a little bit. It's kind of there.
Yep.
It works, right? If you're a commercial artist, these sell all day. They really do. Because they make you feel good, don't they?
Yeah.
They're romantic. They're just mentally mellow. It's just a nice feeling.
They look really good.
All right. So we've got this little one kind of peeking out here. And I may put out a little more of my fuchsia.
Fuchsia?
My fuchsia. You know, where I might need it. I'm not really sure yet, but it could come up. I'm wondering, though, if I were to take, say, a little of my Had Red and a little of my yellow and my Naples for this next rose and a bit of magenta. Look, I got just kind of loose and crazy. Talking about one that's sort of facing away from us, right?
Yeah.
So as I come back on that, I've got that nice center. I can just come back into maybe a little more of, I'll let a little of my magenta kind of get in there. Went the opposite way. And now it's kind of like, ooh, it's standing out, right? So I'm going to take a little of my, my wonderful Naples Yellow, grab some white into it. I'll need even more, so I need the contrast. Get more into my pink as I layer back. So we kind of have that going there. So there's some difference. Whenever I have difference, though, I'm going to take a mix of it, right? And we're going to drop it on that petal. See how we pulled it through the canvas? Also, I'm going to take a little bit over here, tying it through. Whenever you bring something where you're like, oh, this is a little different, like this rose was a little different, pull it through the rest of the surface. That was my Cad Red. I love doing these little drops. I loves it.
You do?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to dry that.
You're going to dry that?
Mm-hmm.
You dry. And so if you're drying, the reason why she's doing this is that between layers, it's good to make sure that your surface is dry. Don't use heat because heat can affect the paint and cause all sort of negative effects. But generally speaking, just use the air, dry between layers, and that keeps you from dragging that paint across the surface as you do the next layers. And that's going to be important so that, you don't get something like yellow in your green or pink in your blue or any of those colors in the inappropriate places.
What?
Make sure it's dry.
It does. Though in something like this, there is some forgiveness, right? Because again, when the stuff sort of goes with each other, and we're going to do a couple interesting things remaining.
Before you go,
okay, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, give me
I have to do the center flower. I'm not
Denise
done.
has something for you. Can I get bubbles?
You can always get bubbles.
Okay.
You guys can always have. Oh, I like
so
that. I just needed this. I just needed to relax today. You know what I mean?
Yep. So Denise would like to know. Says Sherpa, what did the flower say after he told a joke?
What did the flower say after he told a joke?
I was just pawing your leg.
Dad jokes.
So that was just a little joke to make you smile. Art and hugs from Denise.
Thank you.
So we will share that joke with everybody today.
So if John will let me, I kind of want to, I'll do it at the end. I'm going to show you guys a realistic rose in the same colors and this, and you can kind of see how they exist, but we'll do that at the end. We'll do it at the end. At
the end.
I'm going to get some clean water.
Are you?
Because I want very bright colors here. I need them to really kind of show up and be bright. Do some interesting stuff. I will take my Phthalo Green into my Naples Yellow. You can see that makes quite a bright color.
Mm. It's like
little touches.
it's like Pong today up here. You're like top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom.
Yes, I am. Now I also want to put maybe some little green coverings over our buds. So I'm going to take my burnt sienna and my phthalo green and a little of my cad yellow. I'm going to come here to this little bud. Tucking them in, right? Up here, maybe adding a little more green to my experience. Tucking that in. Just putting those into context. Sometimes they need context. And then,
I
like
find
anything in painting, they need contrast. Find me fast or irritatingly fast?
no. I just say it. I find that everything needs context.
Everything needs context. Well, that was pretty good. Now, here's something you can do. If you want to be done here, nothing wrong with it.
Just
right?
go get a sandwich. Call it done.
You can sign it and call it done. But we are going to get a little next level with this. I'm going to take, this is an artist knife. This is a trowel headed. It's longer in the nose. You can get these in packs. I have them in my Art Sherpa plastic pack, but you can get the metal ones. I'm going to take a little bit of my, this is going to use up quite a lot of paint, but I'm going to grab a little of my Quin. I'm going to put it on the knife of this.
Whoa.
And I'm going to begin on just this flower. To add the thick coloring.
Wow.
Whether it's a knife or a brush, you still have to kind of, be aware of the directionality of the strokes. That's fun. Kind of makes it interestingly more focal a bit.
It does.
Interestingly more focal. It also lets you use up a lot of your paint. You have it left on the palette. And this kind of touch, now here's where student paint kind of fails you a little bit in this technique, is it levels, it shrinks.
Oh, right.
One of the things you pay for in your pro paint is the fact that it's gonna, whatever you have here wet, you'll have dry. If that makes sense.
It will remain peaky.
It will remain peaky.
It's very, I'm going to go zoom
You'll
over.
do some crazy stuff here.
I don't know how zoom.
So that's pretty fun, right? You can really see that, how thick that is. We're going to come over to the artist, the knife thing over here, and we're going to do that mix of, Cad Red and Magenta. Just kind of on the toe, making sure that and this is like frosting. I love doing this. It's gonna get so wild as we go. It just takes up a lot more paint. I may have to put out some more magenta and some more Cad Red, but I want to show you how to do just a really built up one. Sometimes you don't know how to do those really built up ones, and then you feel like you gotta, pay a lot of money. But you don't. You can make it yourself. The reason I'm doing the very thick one is it's going to help pull my focus back into that spot on the canvas. It's going to be different. These are going to be flat. This one's going to be thick. Let's see, I'm just mixing that in. And my knife, again, I'm still kind of curving the stroke. You guys can see that. The painting underneath makes sure that I've got, one, a structure to follow. Right, doing a similar thing on how I spatula this little sucker out. And we curve around. You can take your paint up over the side. Believe you me, that impresses people if you're selling these.
You can impasto around the corner.
You can impasto around the corner.
Like
that's
Formula
pretty
1.
fun, right? So, but it's a little red. It doesn't have the tonality that its friends do. So that's kind of a problem. What do we do when that happens? Well, we take a little bit of our magenta over here into our red. And let's get a little of our Naples yellow into this. And some of our white. You can see how I am definitely eking through my paint. I don't want to take away the fact that the center is dark. Don't remove the fact that the center is dark. Now, when the paint is wet, like it is, and thick and wet, put a little yellow into that too. See it here? How I'm going to get this is I'm going to be very light with my touch. If I press in, I'm going to pick up the paint underneath. I'm kind of relying on the stuff that acrylic just tends to do on its own because of how it is. A little more white. Starting to come to life, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the side camera can show how thick.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. Put the
That's right.
down low. I'm gonna add some more white to what I already had on my palette knife. I'll go ahead and get some orange into that. I mean yellow into that.
Oh, that's right. Leo was saying there's the other video that you did kind of like this, the pop and poppy.
The poppin' poppies. If you think this is fine. We have slightly better sound on this one, but
Yes, true. I was having a day, I think, on that video.
that was just crazy.
We have those days.
So there's a point where you have to let it be.
Let it be.
There is. There's a point you can keep playing, and there's a point you're going to be like, okay, we got there. There's nowhere further to go. We are all the way we can be anywhere.
It's a full rose.
Right.
What are you doing?
I'm just going to put a little white out there. Try to give it another light petal. I can take my own advice here.
Yeah, I'm going to tone it down so you can see all the more subtleties as it gets darker. Because I've got it real bright for the... you can see all the dark parts. You can really tell that's got a lot of dynamic range in that.
It's focal now. You have your other painted roses, and then you have your thick one in the center, and it pulls your attention. You can always come back through and add a few thick petals here and there, right? You can sit there and say, for balance's sake, perhaps you want just a few thicker bits here and there.
You don't want lonely impasto.
Well, you can have lonely impasto. It's really up to you, but a little bit of extra kind of pulls it through, doesn't it?
You know what they say in art school? Don't impasto alone.
You can touch these heavier bits anywhere you want to. You just got to make sure you've got a little. Okay. Using some of this stuff up. Sometimes it's fun to use up. So you can go in and put those textures places. And if that wasn't enough, I'm going to take a little of my Phthalo Green and my Phthalo Blue together. Get some turquoise. And put some thick leaves around. I'm just touching that out.
Yep. You're all over the place.
You have to kind of be all over the place. I won't lie to you. There is movement in this process. You will be moving. I see I brought those down. So now we're balancing these like thick, crazy leaves. Sort of around our surface, aren't we?
Yeah. While you're putting that out, I'm going to go look at the paint. Because some of those are super thick.
Yeah, go look around. And it will be like this when it dries. That's what heavy body paint is for. Because it stays like this as it dries.
Yeah, really pretty.
And that's what you're trying to get, right? I'm going to add a little white and maybe what's left of my yellow loosely mixed into here. I'm going to put a few more things out. Just because I very much enjoy them. Touch the top. People will check the sides. Huh. So hit the sides.
Did you do the side one on? Yeah.
Yeah. Gentle touch.
Those leaves really are popping the leaves too.
Look at that. There we go. That's it.
That's awesome.
Super happy with that.
And this is,
You could pin it on Pinterest, couldn't you? I know, because you guys all pin these. You're like, oh, I love this abstract rose. I want to do it.
Okay.
So here's the tricks, right? You can't let go of design just because you're being abstract. And it's not just about, throwing paint up on a canvas. Whether you do it where you just use the color palette of the roses and take none of their shape and form and do something totally abstracted, or whether you abstract them a bit and paint them in this way, design and everything still works. When you're painting the thick paint, this is such a light touch. So light. Kiss the top of the paint with your knife. Kiss it. Be super gentle. That's really the trick of the technique, is just touching the paint. This is a great shape. These don't have to be expensive. Now they can be. There's some Italian sets that are like $75 a knife. And they're fantastic. And I could not only paint with them, but I could defend my life with them. But other than spiders, I don't really have a lot of cause for that in my studio. So, because this is somewhat objective, I don't feel compelled to sign on the side, but you could.
Yes, good. All right. I like that right there. That looks great. Could you sign in impasto?
Tough.
You'd have to be all knifey about it. Like,
I wouldn't use that. I would put a frosting tip on I would load my paint into a detail frosting tip bag. One disposable. Don't use it then for frosting. So if you want to sign in impasto, and if you're asking yourself, can I use frosting techniques with this paint? Yes.
Oh, and
yes,
there's that
totally.
scratchy. I would Zorro it, where you put thick paint down and then scratch it out.
Yeah, you can do that. You can come back and scratch it out. But these are some basic concepts, and I hope that, let me go for it because we just finished.
Yes.
It's so gorgeous. Oh, man.
What'd you do?
Don't touch your canvas after you paint. It's fine. It's got my fingerprint. It's a value.
We know it's yours.
We know it's mine.
We do.
That's the touch it gently. That's the result from today. How did you guys feel about that? I'm gonna sip my coffee. I'm gonna bubble us on the way out.
Up, and then I have
take a couple of questions on our way out. I don't know where my bubbles went.
You took my controller. I don't have.
I have no bubble power.
It's bubble.
There's no power of the bubbles anymore.
Bubble. Everyone call bubbles. I think if we have to clap our hands.
Clap our hands. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, there it is.
See, everyone was clapping.
Worked.
We found the bubbles.
It's crazy.
So okay. While we're asking questions of the Sherpa, and the bubbles are going to confuse.
Oh, I got to show them the realistic rose too.
I'm gonna have to
in the same color palette. So you guys understand how these work.
All right.
Let me. I'm gonna run forward and grab it.
Get what?
Go on the painting, and I'm gonna run forward and grab it.
Okay.
Just on the painting, not me.
Just on this?
Yeah, just on that. Visit that for a second.
We're visiting. We see it. It looks good. Oh, what was that? You put something else over there.
Right.
Okay. Can I come back forward now?
I think you can. I just want to sort of arrange these so we can see them. So.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? You might want to. I don't know if you can recenter more in the art on me. I'm irrelevant.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna adjust that camera too.
So you can kind of compare. So you can see I used very similar color, actually exact same.
Yeah.
Exact same. And we can have this as a tutorial if you want. If you're not just sick of roses, we can do this one as a tutorial as well.
But I have a question.
Okay, question.
That impasto-y painting you did over there.
Yes, the one in the class.
How long will it take that to dry?
Give it 3 weeks.
Oh.
Before you varnish.
Okay.
I mean, it'll skin over right away and you'll think it's dry, but it's not. It's still wet in the center and it needs to cure for a while. There's really no reason to have to rush to varnish a painting like this. So just let it sit there for 3 weeks, a month. And if you're going to varnish, use a spray varnish, not a brush on.
Gotcha. All right, well, that's pretty cool.
Isn't that great? And can you see how these are related to each other?
I do.
Objective, abstracted. Rose I didn't abstract, rose I did abstract. Both really fun. I just love the bubbles. I'm stop bubbling now.
No,
both are really, really fun.
You can bubble.
So if you want to see the other rose, let me know in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow because we're going to be doing paintings like this.
Everyone wants the rose, yes.
Okay, everyone. All right, you guys can have the rose. But either before or after April, because in April, you have all the things that you can imagine painting. If you start that program on day 1, by the time you finish it, you're going to have all of your core art skills for wood, for rock, for water, for stone, for sky, for light, for everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole thing.
It's a
whole thing. But this is today.
It is.
And I have to say that was fun, right?
It was very fun. I enjoyed it.
All right.
I like the impasto-iness.
I do too. You know, every once in a while, it's okay to just let go and let loose. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I can see how this is misunderstanding. Do you have to use impasto with your paint to get that texture?
What does that mean?
Well, I think someone was confused. Impasto isn't a medium.
I'm so sorry. Heavy body paint, when painted thick, where you can see the brush strokes, is referred to as impasto. So whenever you have hear an artist say impasto, what they're really saying is I'm painting thick with my paint and you can see the strokes. Heavy bodied paint is designed specifically for this because trust me, I love oil artists with the fire of 1,000 suns, but they do this stuff and I don't even know how long it takes that painting to dry. A regular painting can take months to dry. I have no idea if the paint is this thick and it crazes and there's a whole bunch of material science problems with that. Acrylic paint was developed so you could paint in these thick applications and not see crazing and not see cracking. And impasto just refers to the thickness and robustness and fierceness of your paint. Sorry, just got a little of my thing.
Got some. You were very French there for a moment about.
I did. I got a little. I got my passions up.
You're gonna start kissing the paint.
I'm not because it's still wet. It's gonna be wet for a while. I'm gonna tell the kids not to touch the painting.
Don't touch the paint.
Whenever I do this, my kids invariably come. Okay, pro tip: if you have a cat, a dog, or children, or birds, or anybody that could come, husbands, partners, anybody that could come by your painting, they are gonna want to touch it. So you just gotta put it somewhere where it has a minute to defend itself and dry outside, and you're never gonna get pet hair out of it. pet hair is a part of it. If it gets you can get it with tweezers. I don't know. So definitely be thoughtful about when you're letting these dry. I know my kids always like to get their fingers in it. You know, oh my gosh, I'm really happy. I've been wanting to do this class for a while on the channel. So this month, because we were so slammed with acrylic April, I actually got to do it. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more abstract classes, let me know, because this works for everything. Paint anything this way, and it's so much fun. Be good to yourselves. Be safe out there right now. Be good to each other, and I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.